Before you touch your phone, before you answer a message, before you step into conversation, responsibility, pressure, or noise, something has already begun shaping your day. Not your schedule, not other people, not circumstances, your mindset. The tone you set internally in the first, quiet moments of consciousness becomes the atmosphere you carry into everything. If your first thoughts are anxious, the day feels heavy. If your first thoughts are scattered, the day feels chaotic. If your first thoughts are intentional, anchored, spiritually aligned, the day bends differently. This is not motivational exaggeration. This is spiritual law. You do not experience the day as it is. You experience the day as you are. So this morning, before anything else, we are recalibrating the lens, because your mindset is not a passive reaction. It is an active construction, and if you do not build it intentionally, it will default to fear, distraction, comparison, and pressure. Let's dismantle that default. When you wake up, your mind is not blank. It is suggestible. It is receptive. It is forming narratives before you even leave your bed. Notice what your first thoughts usually are. Are they, what do I have to deal with today? What if I don't handle this well? I'm already tired. I hope nothing stressful happens. Those thoughts are not random. They are patterns, and patterns become expectations. Expectations shape perception. Perception shapes response. Response shapes outcome. So by the time noon arrives, your morning mindset has already influenced dozens of micro decisions. How you interpret an email, how you react to a delay, how you speak to someone who challenges you, how quickly frustration rises, how confidently you respond to opportunity. Most people try to fix their day in the afternoon, but by then, the internal narrative has already been rehearsing for hours. This is why spiritual alignment must begin early. Before noise, before obligation, before reaction. Your mind needs direction before it absorbs demand. Every morning, whether you realize it or not, you make an agreement, an internal decision about how you will interpret reality. You may not say it out loud, but your thoughts declare it. Some mornings the agreement sounds like, this is going to be overwhelming. Other mornings, I'll just survive today. And occasionally, I'm ready. That agreement becomes the emotional lens of the day. If you agree that today will exhaust you, your body responds accordingly. If you agree that today is an opportunity to grow, your energy organizes around purpose. This is not denial of difficulty. It is authority over interpretation. You cannot control everything that happens today, but you can control the meaning you assign to what happens. And meaning shapes momentum. Ask yourself honestly, what have I been agreeing with lately? Scarcity? Inadequacy? Pressure? Comparison? Or growth? Alignment? Intentional discipline? Your mindset is not an accident. It is an agreement. And today, you choose consciously. Many people separate mindset from spirituality. They treat thoughts as psychological and faith as emotional. But your thought life is deeply spiritual. What you consistently meditate on becomes what you magnify. If you rehearse fear internally, fear expands. If you rehearse doubt, doubt strengthens. If you rehearse identity rooted in purpose, resilience grows. Spiritual alignment is not only prayer. It is disciplined thought. It is evaluating your internal dialogue and asking, does this thought align with who I am becoming? Does this narrative reflect truth or insecurity? Does this mental rehearsal strengthen me or weaken me? If your internal conversation contradicts your faith, you will feel divided. Alignment brings stability. When your thoughts and your spiritual identity move in the same direction, confidence becomes natural. Not forced, not performed, natural. You cannot speak words of faith publicly while internally rehearsing defeat. That fracture creates tension. But when your mindset aligns with spiritual conviction, your decisions carry clarity. This is why morning recalibration matters. You are not just preparing for meetings or tasks. You are preparing your internal architecture. Most people let the day decide who they become. Traffic determines their patience. Emails determine their mood. Unexpected problems determine their confidence. But what if you decided before anything happens who you will be? What if you declare, today I will respond calmly. Today I will move intentionally. Predecision removes emotional chaos. Because when something unexpected happens, you do not scramble to define yourself. You already decided. Your mindset becomes proactive rather than reactive. This does not mean suppressing emotion. It means governing it. You can feel frustration without becoming it. You can encounter pressure without collapsing under it. But that requires mental leadership. And leadership begins in the quiet moments before the day accelerates. Some of you wake up bracing. You don't even notice it anymore, but your nervous system does. Before anything has gone wrong, you are already preparing for disappointment. You anticipate tension in conversations that haven't happened. You imagine problems that haven't formed. You mentally rehearse failure before effort begins. That is not wisdom. That is trained expectation of difficulty. An expectation quietly influences outcome. When you anticipate conflict, your tone shifts. When you anticipate rejection, your posture closes. When you anticipate failure, your creativity shrinks. You think you're protecting yourself from surprise, but what you're actually doing is scripting limitation. There is a difference between preparedness and pessimism. Preparedness says, if something arises, I will respond. Pessimism says, something will arise and it will overwhelm me. Your body cannot distinguish between imagined stress and real stress. So when you mentally rehearse catastrophe, your system reacts as if it is already happening, and by mid-morning you feel drained, not because of what happened, but because of what you imagined. Spiritual alignment requires mental discipline. Instead of asking, what if this goes wrong? Ask, how will I respond wisely if it becomes difficult? One question creates fear. The other creates authority. You do not eliminate uncertainty by forecasting disaster. You eliminate instability by strengthening your internal response. Some people claim they want peace, but internally they rehearse complexity. Overthinking feels productive. Analyzing every angle feels responsible. But constant mental spinning is not depth. It is avoidance disguised as intelligence. Notice how quickly your mind jumps between scenarios. One moment you are thinking about a task. Next moment you are replaying a past conversation. Then you are imagining future criticism. Then you are comparing yourself to someone else. And you wonder why you feel fragmented. Your mind becomes scattered because you allow every thought equal access. Spiritual and mental alignment requires filtration. Not every thought deserves attention. Not every possibility deserves rehearsal. Not every memory deserves revival. Your thoughts must be evaluated before they are entertained. Ask, is this thought constructive? Is this thought grounded in truth? Is this thought strengthening my direction? If not, it does not get resonance. You cannot stop thoughts from appearing, but you can stop building them into structures. Calmness is not the absence of activity. It is the presence of order, and order must be chosen intentionally. There is another pattern that distorts your day. Identity drift. You begin the morning confident, but the first challenge shakes you. The first criticism unsettles you. The first comparison destabilizes you. Suddenly you are questioning yourself. That is identity without anchoring. If your sense of self shifts based on external input, your day will feel unstable. Because external input is unpredictable. You must define who you are before circumstances attempt to define you. You are not your inbox. You are not your productivity. You are not your mistakes. You are not someone else's perception of you. If you attach identity to outcomes, you will rise and fall emotionally all day. But when identity is rooted spiritually, in growth, purpose, integrity, circumstances lose their power to redefine you. This is mental alignment, not allowing every external stimulus to renegotiate your worth. Before the day begins, remind yourself, who am I becoming? What values guide me? What standard will I hold internally regardless of what happens externally? When identity is stable, reaction becomes measured. When identity drifts, reaction becomes emotional. You choose which version of yourself walks into today. Reaction is automatic. Response is intentional. Reaction is fast and emotional. Response is steady and evaluated. Most conflict, stress, and regret come from reaction. You see something. You feel something. You immediately act. But reaction rarely reflects your highest self. It reflects your untrained impulses. Training your mind requires space between stimulus and action. That space is where authority lives. When something happens today, a delay, criticism, unexpected change, pause internally, not dramatically, quietly. Take one breath before responding. That single breath interrupts emotional reflex. It creates clarity. It gives your higher thinking a chance to engage. Spiritual alignment is not floating through the day detached. It is engaging the day with awareness. It is choosing measured movement instead of emotional reflex. Over time, that discipline rewires your patterns. You stop being governed by momentary feelings. You begin being guided by intention. Your mindset is not private. It is perceptible. Even if no one hears your thoughts, they feel your posture. If you enter a room carrying anxiety, the atmosphere tightens. If you enter carrying calm assurance, the atmosphere steadies. Your internal alignment influences external environments. That is responsibility. But it is also power. You do not need to dominate spaces loudly. You can influence spaces quietly through composure. When your mindset is anchored, you speak slower. You listen more clearly. You respond thoughtfully. You carry weight without force. That steadiness changes interactions, but it cannot be faked. It must be cultivated in the unseen moments before engagement. This morning is that cultivation. You are not just preparing for tasks. You are preparing the energy you will carry. Before your day unfolds externally, it unfolds internally. You narrate it, silently, subtly, constantly. You tell yourself who you are. You tell yourself what this day means. You tell yourself what you expect from yourself. And most people never question that narration. If your internal voice says, "This is going to be exhausting," you will look for proof. If it says, "I always struggle with things like this," you will unconsciously reinforce that identity. If it says, "I'm not as capable as others," you will hesitate even when opportunity stands open. Your mind seeks evidence to confirm its narrative. So the question this morning is not what's happening today. The question is, what story am I rehearsing about today? Are you framing the day as pressure or as preparation? Are you framing challenges as threats or as refinement? Are you framing responsibilities as burdens or as trust placed in you? This shift is not fantasy. It is perspective discipline. The same event can feel heavy or meaningful depending on interpretation. And interpretation is chosen. Right now, before the day advances, rewrite the narrative. Instead of, "I hope I survive today," say internally, "I will engage today with strength and clarity." Instead of, "I'm already behind," say, "I will move intentionally and handle what is in front of me." This is not denial of difficulty. It is refusal to exaggerate it. Most people try to become resilient during pressure. But resilience is built before pressure. If you wait until stress appears to stabilize yourself, you will always feel reactive. Resilience is formed in stillness. Right now. Before the first interruption, before the first demand, before the first unexpected shift. Ask yourself, what usually destabilizes me? Is it criticism, delay, uncertainty, silence from someone I expect validation from? Whatever usually unsettles you, prepare internally now, not defensively, but steadily. Tell yourself, if criticism comes, I will evaluate it without internal collapse. If delay happens, I will adjust without frustration controlling me. If uncertainty lingers, I will continue moving with discipline. Preparation removes shock, and shock is what often triggers emotional spirals. When you pre-decide your response, you remove the element of surprise. You are no longer at the mercy of unpredictability. You become anchored. Resilience is not hardness. It is flexibility without losing structure. Like a tree rooted deeply, wind may move it, but it does not uproot it. That is what we are building this morning. Internal depth. Many of you delay momentum because you are waiting to feel ready. Ready to speak, ready to act, ready to decide, ready to step forward. But readiness is often emotional illusion. If you wait for complete confidence before moving, you may wait indefinitely. Confidence grows through movement, not before it. Clarity expands through engagement, not isolation. Spiritual alignment does not mean every doubt disappears. It means you move forward even when uncertainty remains. You can feel hesitation and still act responsibly. You can feel nervous and still speak with composure. You can feel unsure and still make a thoughtful decision. The absence of fear is not the goal. Authority over fear is. This morning, stop demanding emotional perfection from yourself. Instead, commit to disciplined participation. Ask, what is one action today that moves me forward? Not 10, not everything. 1. Momentum compounds, but stagnation compounds too. You are not waiting for a feeling. You are choosing movement. Misalignment creates exhaustion. When your thoughts say one thing, your emotions say another, and your spirit senses something deeper, you feel divided. For example, you say you trust, but internally you rehearse worst-case outcomes. You say you are confident, but internally you compare constantly. You say you are growing, but internally you revisit past mistakes with shame. That internal contradiction drains energy. Alignment means your thoughts reflect truth. Your emotions are acknowledged but governed. Your spirit leads. It does not mean suppressing feeling. It means refusing to let feeling dictate identity. When something happens today, check internally. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What is spiritually true? Bring them into alignment. If your thoughts exaggerate, correct them. If your emotions intensify, slow them. If your spirit reminds you of who you are, anchor to that. This discipline prevents internal chaos. And chaos is what makes days feel overwhelming. Confidence does not always look loud. Often it looks calm. It looks like someone who does not rush unnecessarily. It looks like someone who does not over-explain themselves. It looks like someone who can sit in silence without panic. That kind of confidence comes from mental order. When your thoughts are structured, your speech becomes precise. When your internal world is steady, your external presence becomes reassuring. Ask yourself, do I speak from clarity or from urgency? Do I decide from conviction or from pressure? Do I move from purpose or from comparison? Mental order is cultivated. It does not appear randomly. You build it every morning when you choose. Focus over distraction. Perspective over exaggeration. Patience over impulsiveness. Discipline over emotional chaos. This is spiritual maturity. And maturity creates momentum. There is a subtle but powerful truth most people ignore. If you don't position your mind intentionally in the morning, the world will position it for you. Notifications will set your urgency. Other people's moods will set your emotional tone. Unexpected updates will determine your focus. Comparison will shape your self-perception. And before you realize it, you are mentally reacting to everything instead of directing anything. Spiritual alignment is positioning. It is deciding before engagement where you stand internally. Ask yourself now, am I standing in reaction or in authority? Authority does not mean control over events. It means control over interpretation and response. When you position yourself spiritually at the start of the day, you create an internal reference point. So when something attempts to destabilize you, you can ask, does this deserve my peace? Does this require urgency? Is this aligned with my deeper purpose? Without positioning, every stimulus feels equally urgent. With positioning, you discern. You decide what receives your emotional energy, and that changes everything. Most people wake up and move immediately. Phone, messages, scrolling, noise, input. But input before grounding creates fragmentation. Your mind begins processing information before it has anchored itself. Stillness is not laziness. It is calibration. Before the world informs you who it needs you to be today, sit quietly and remember who you are. Not performance, not expectation, not productivity. Identity. Sit for a moment and breathe slowly. Inhale with awareness. Exhale without rush. Notice your thoughts without chasing them. You are not trying to empty your mind. You are learning to observe it. This simple discipline strengthens self-governance, because when you can sit with your own thoughts calmly, you become less controlled by them throughout the day. Stillness builds internal leadership, and leadership of self precedes leadership in any environment. Alignment requires intention. Without intention, you drift. Before today accelerates, ask yourself 3 grounded questions. What kind of energy will I carry into my interactions? What standard of integrity will guide my decisions? What distraction must I refuse today? These questions sharpen focus. Energy determines presence. Integrity determines consistency. Refusal determines clarity. Most people do not consciously choose their energy. They default to whatever they feel upon waking. But energy can be chosen. You can decide to move calmly. You can decide to speak deliberately. You can decide to listen fully. That decision transforms ordinary conversations into intentional exchanges. Integrity protects you from impulsive compromise. When pressure arises, you do not scramble. You already decided who you are. And refusal protects your attention. Because distraction is not harmless. Every unnecessary distraction fragments momentum. Alignment requires guarding your focus. Just as physical environments influence mood, mental environments influence behavior. What are you allowing into your mental atmosphere each morning? Rapid news cycles? Comparison through social media? Voices that amplify insecurity? You cannot consume chaos and expect internal peace. You cannot absorb urgency and expect calm discernment. Guarding your mental atmosphere is not avoidance. It is stewardship. You are responsible for what shapes your thinking. Before you absorb external voices today, establish your own. Anchor yourself in clarity. Remind yourself, I do not need to rush to prove worth. I do not need to compete to feel secure. I do not need to react to everything presented to me. Your mind deserves protection. Not isolation from reality, but filtration of noise. When your internal atmosphere is clean, your decision-making sharpens. You perceive situations more accurately. You respond instead of overreacting. That is alignment in action. There is a difference between alignment and performance. Performance asks, how do I appear? Alignment asks, am I grounded? Performance seeks validation. Alignment seeks integrity. Performance changes depending on the audience. Alignment remains steady regardless of audience. If your mindset is rooted in performance, your day will feel exhausting because you will constantly adjust yourself to gain approval. But if your mindset is rooted in alignment, your energy stabilizes. You move consistently. You speak thoughtfully. You act from conviction. You do not need every interaction to confirm your value. Your value is not under review. This realization frees mental space. It reduces anxiety. It allows you to show up fully without defensiveness. Alignment simplifies your day, and simplicity strengthens clarity. Everything we've built in this message comes down to this. The beginning matters. The first thoughts matter. The first emotional tone matters. The first internal agreement matters. If your beginning is scattered, your momentum fragments. If your beginning is intentional, your direction stabilizes. You cannot control every outcome today, but you can control your entry point. Right now, as you breathe and listen, your day has not fully unfolded. This is your window. You are choosing who you will be before circumstances attempt to influence you. That choice is powerful. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady. And steadiness carries further than intensity ever could. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, before I step into responsibility, conversation, decision, or demand, I come into stillness with you. I refuse to enter this day scattered. I refuse to begin distracted. I refuse to allow external noise to define my internal posture. Today I seek alignment. Align my thoughts with truth. Align my emotions with stability. Align my spirit with clarity. Where my mind has been restless, bring order. Where my thoughts have been exaggerated, bring perspective. Where I have anticipated difficulty before it arrives, quiet that reflex. I will not rehearse fear today. I will not narrate defeat before effort begins. If challenges arise, I will meet them with composure. If delays occur, I will respond with patience. If uncertainty lingers, I will continue moving with discipline. Strengthen my inner world so that my outer world does not control me. Guard my mind from spirals of overthinking. Interrupt patterns of doubt that try to resurface. When insecurity whispers, remind me of who I am becoming. When comparison attempts to distort my confidence, anchor me in purpose. I will not measure my value against someone else's pace. I will not reduce myself to performance. My worth is not under review today. Establish calm authority within me. Let my words carry intention. Let my decisions reflect integrity. Let my reactions be measured rather than impulsive. Teach me to pause before responding. Teach me to breathe before speaking. Teach me to discern before assuming. If criticism comes, help me evaluate it without internal collapse. If affirmation comes, keep me humble and steady. If pressure increases, deepen my roots instead of shaking my foundation. I surrender the need to feel completely ready before acting. I surrender the demand for emotional perfection. Instead, I choose disciplined participation. I choose thoughtful movement. I choose resilience before resistance appears. Father, examine my thought patterns. Expose any narrative that weakens my courage. Replace distortion with clarity. Replace insecurity with quiet confidence. Replace mental chaos with structured peace. Let my mind become an environment where wisdom can live. Let my internal atmosphere be clean, steady, and grounded. I declare this day will not control my identity. Emails will not define me. Outcomes will not determine my worth. Opinions will not dictate my direction. I'm anchored beyond temporary circumstances. Help me carry energy that steadies rooms rather than agitates them. Let my presence reflect composure. Let my listening be attentive. Let my speech be precise. Protect my focus from unnecessary distraction. Give me discernment to know what deserves my energy and what does not. Guard my time. Guard my attention. Guard my peace. When frustration attempts to rise, slow my response. When impatience attempts to form, soften my tone. When discouragement attempts to enter, remind me of progress already made. Today I will not drift. I will move intentionally. I will act thoughtfully. I will remain aligned even when the day accelerates. If unexpected change appears, I will adapt without panic. If decisions must be made, grant me clarity. If I feel uncertain, remind me that growth often begins where comfort ends. Strengthen my resilience before I need it. Deepen my confidence before it is tested. Stabilize my emotions before they are challenged. I choose to walk grounded. I choose to think deliberately. I choose to respond instead of react. I choose alignment over performance. Let integrity guide me when pressure tempts compromise. Let wisdom guide me when emotion seeks control. Let purpose guide me when distraction tries to divide my focus. Father, purify my motives. Remove any desire to impress. Remove any fear of disapproval. Remove any lingering shame from yesterday. Today is not a continuation of past mistakes. Today is a fresh opportunity to move with clarity. Release me from mental replay of old conversations. Release me from imagined future conflict. Bring me into this moment, centered, anchored, aware. May my mind become disciplined, not rigid, calm, not passive, focused, not narrow. Let peace govern my internal dialogue. Let gratitude soften my perspective. Let humility shape my interactions. Where I have been harsh with myself, teach me balanced evaluation. Where I have been complacent, awaken discipline. Where I have doubted my growth, reveal evidence of transformation. I declare that fear does not lead me today. Impulsiveness does not govern me. Anxiety does not define me. I walk with intention. I walk with clarity. I walk with spiritual alignment. Even if the day becomes complex, my internal world will remain structured. Even if pressure increases, my foundation will not fracture. Even if outcomes differ from expectation, my identity remains secure. I trust that you are guiding unseen details. I trust that I do not need to control every variable. I trust that wisdom will meet me at each decision point. Fill me with steady courage, not loud confidence, not dramatic declarations, but quiet strength. Strength that does not waver when unobserved. Strength that does not require applause. Strength rooted in conviction. As I move into this day, let my mindset reflect maturity. Let my posture reflect peace. Let my energy reflect assurance. And when the day concludes, let me look back knowing I lived aligned. Not perfectly, but intentionally. Not reactively, but thoughtfully. Not scattered, but grounded. Thank you for this new beginning. Thank you for breath. Thank you for clarity forming even now. I enter this day positioned. I enter this day disciplined. I enter this day aligned. In Jesus' name, amen.